allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, invitation for a citizen to schedule a time on a future commission agenda of an item that's not already listed. Okay, hearing none, we'll move along. Agenda. Any revisions to the agenda? Additions? All right, hearing none, we'll approve the agenda. The consent agenda. Is there anything on there that we need to pull off the consent agenda? Okay, hearing none, I look for a motion to approve the consent agenda.
So move.
Is there a second? Second. All right. Any further discussion on the consent agenda? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Routine business, approval of claims. Is there a motion?
Move to approve.
Is there a second?
Second.
Second. Discussion on the claims.
I do have a question. I'm not sure what page it is in the packet, but on page 29 of the claims, it's for, and maybe somebody just knows the answer to this without even looking at it, but it's for Mid-States flooring, for bathroom flooring, for $985. Can anybody tell me what that's for?
It's Marty.
Okay, okay. Oh, okay, okay, okay. Just questioning where that was. That's all I needed to know. Thank you.
All right, any further questions on the claims? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Okay, department head reports. Bob.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen.
Morning.
The first thing up is the Brookings County Board of Adjustment has had a conditional use appealed to it, and that's conditional use 2016-002. It has been already noticed in the paper, and we will hear the appeal on April the 5th at approximately 9 p.m. Our zoning meeting starts at 8. We've got another conditional use in the front that we're going to take care of first. There's a South Dakota State University class coming in for that particular meeting. And then as soon as that conditional use permit is heard, the Board of Adjustment will convene and hear the appeal. I'm working in First District right now to try to get all the paperwork compiled and everything so we can get this out to the zoning board members. March 7 and 8, we had a mass care class in Sioux Falls, and then March 9 and 10, we also had a mass fatality class. Different staff members went to both classes. March 10th, we had a PPCC meeting. March 15th, I had a class in Pierre on planning for the needs of children in a disaster, and that class was quite interesting because that particular type of class will probably, for the EOC, bring in people like Mike Holhauser and his staff, because in case of a disaster, we have to treat children just a little bit different than we do the adults. And sometimes in my world, we just group them all together. And this type of class explains to you, you can't really do that. There's certain criteria you've got to match. And then on the 16th, I stayed over in Pierre and attended the ICS 402 class. Did everyone enjoy that class? Mm-hmm. It was a pretty good class from what I could tell, and we'll jump on top of that. That actually helps us in our NIMS reporting, National Incident Management System training. So thank you for all attending that. March 21st, we had a recall on our county development Durango. Had an airbag problem that recall fixed for us. April the 1st through the 5th, I'm scheduled to attend a conference, and our planning meeting happens to be on the 5th. So you'll probably see a change to my travel plans. It won't require me to change my travel request. It will change me to change my airplane ticket. So you might see an additional cost there that I did not anticipate. But with this appeal coming up, I want to try my best to get back here in time to listen to the appeal. April 19th, there's a FEMA public assistance grant training in Sioux Falls. I'm planning on sending 2 people, myself and my deputy, and the finance department plans to send an additional person. This is a good step to get the finance department involved in the emergency management grants, because even though we don't bring in the big dollars that we did 10 years ago, it's still a very important process, and we got to keep track of those federal dollars when they come in. So having a finance team on board with us on that, plus on our emergency operations center, we got a finance team member, and now it's starting. All the blocks are starting to line up on why we need finance in the emergency operations center. Because for years there's always a push and pull. No one wanted to come to the emergency operations center because they didn't feel they was needed. Now, with some of this additional training being put on by peer, things are starting to line up. Also on the 19th at night time, we have a National Weather Service severe weather awareness training up here in Brookings that used to be known as a storm spotter training, but we don't train storm spotters anymore. We train people to look out for severe weather. And typically I attend that, and typically we have the weather spotters that come from my office, and then the sheriff usually sends some of his people over, and then all the fire departments, and it's also open to the public, and we'll start advertising that shortly. And we still got our May 19th crisis leadership class, which I will start sending emails out shortly to see who can attend from the board, county commission board. And then on May 24th, Sean Plowman's having the Essentials of Community Cybersecurity class. Any questions?
Would you say those last 3 dates again, Bob? I'm sorry.
April 19th, there's a FEMA Public Assistance Grant class in Sioux Falls from 1 p.m. to 5:30 p.m. Also on the 19th, there's severe weather awareness training. And then May 19th is our crisis leadership training. That's from 8:30 to 12:30. Also on the 19th, there will be a local emergency planning committee meeting just right after that class. We're just gonna go right into a local emergency planning committee meeting. And then May 24th is the cybersecurity training.
But you said May 19th, is that 8:30?
8:30 to 12:30. Okay. Yes, sir.
I had it down for 9 o'clock. I think that changed. All right.
Any additional questions?
What's the basis for the appeal?
I did not bring it in front of me, but they think we considered some items we shouldn't have considered.
Okay. Will you send me a copy of that today?
By all means.
Is the state's attorney looking at that review also?
Yeah, I believe Terry is.
Yep,
assisting
I'm working
the
with
office
Counselor
on
Nesvold on it,
All right.
and Luke Mueller up at the First Planning District.
Okay. I'd like to see that. Thanks.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Thank you. Bev?
Good morning.
Good morning.
I wanted to give a short update that we received yesterday on DocPro. Sean was notified that with a little additional information from him, they plan to install DocPro on the server tomorrow, which surprised me. And then after that is installed next week, he will be able to install it on our computers in our office as kind of a test that we can do before they do the conversion. The last that I talked to, the Rep. Lucinda from Tyler, she said that to plan to go live in June, because then now I assume they will have to be working on the conversion, and there's a lot of data to convert. So that was kind of exciting. I wanted to keep you guys all updated on that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So, otherwise, everything's as usual in our office. So,
Good.
thank you. Any questions at all?
Thank you. Thanks for coming up. Vicki, you're a little, do you want to do now, or you're on the agenda a little later for questions? Okay. Marty, same with you? Want to wait a little bit, or do you want to come on up? Okay. Gotcha. All right. Morning, gentlemen.
While Bart's handing that out, I'll just quickly go over stats, jail stats, which I handed out to you, is that presently this morning we had 28 inmates, which is good because we were pretty busy over the weekend. 107 on 24/7. And if you look down towards the bottom there, total inmates booked in this month. So far to date, we had 139. We've had 81 booked in since our last commission meeting. Over the weekend, from Thursday, we kind of started, the stats from Thursday to Sunday. There was 37 that went for pub crawl and so forth. So we started getting busy Thursday and kind of ran through, I think. But it went pretty smooth. The jail, everything, Bart had extra people working when we needed it, and a lot of them were arrests and releases. There's some third offense DWIs, some drug arrests that had to stay, but the majority of them was brought in and released. But the jail was busy, but things went smooth. So, but the jail was kept busy from Thursday to Sunday. So anyway, then I'll just, unless you have some questions, I'll just have Bart go in and we'll go through this detention statistics. Basically, it's 24/7, but we threw a few detention statistics in there too.
Excuse me. Starting up there at the top, just some of our general statistics for the jail. I wanted to see whether we were going up or down in our numbers. Of course, anytime we got an inmate population jump, we're going to have visitation jumps. So you can see there on the first time we had an increase in visitors. Our inmate daily population went from an increase of 23 to 36, almost and a half. So we were up per day by another 13 inmates per day than we were the previous year. Then I've got how many bookings we did, juveniles booked, and moving down to mental health committals. I keep a little bit of different track on mental health committals in the state's attorney's office. They keep track of, even if a petition is done against somebody, if it doesn't go all the way through, then they still count that as a number of somebody we dealt with. My numbers that I keep track of are the only ones that go to the full extent of doing the committal, to where we're actually transporting somebody down to the Human Service Center. So we've seen a reduction in those actually, which was a good sign. From 37 in 2014 down 10, or another 27% down to where we did 27 last year. I thought that was a good statistic to follow.
And just a note on that, I think when the state's attorney went through their end of the year, they indicated they dealt with 40 or 45, so that looked like a high number. But because I know, Leon, you kind of questioned that, but actually only 27 were transported. So and they actually went down. So actually,
That number helps with the, yeah.
So
Could I ask one question before you go on? And I should remember these numbers, and I don't. When we're looking at the adult males, adult females, tell me the number of beds we have again. I have forgotten that.
Actual beds?
Yeah, how many do we hold?
54 beds.
Okay.
Now, that doesn't say that that's what we should hold. That's our space. Actually, we should hold 30 downstairs is what we have beds for, but we should only hold half of that by space-wise.
But right now, we can hold 30 downstairs.
yes,
Bed
Okay.
space-wise.
And 24 upstairs.
yes.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Also, it was nice to see that our alcohol and drug committals was down by 2 numbers. Any of those coming down is great, because those are the ones that sometimes we have to hold for extended periods of time in the jail setting, which is not always productive. The next section there is our sobriety program, just our money statistics. The participants we keep track of how many new participants we sign up onto the program every year. So we went from 155 in 14 to 215 in 2015, so we were up by 60. Total, of course, with that jump, we also get a jump in our total amount of tests that we do. That also increases our daily average of how many tests we administer. Our test passed was down by 0.17%, not real huge. And then our fail was also up that same amount. Number of participants in compliance, though, was 169, so that's a good number. I think we beat out, on our percentage-wise and stuff, we always beat out the state, because they keep a total number for the whole state on averages, so I like it when we beat them out. The next section down there is just how we break down what happens if somebody is violated. What are the results? Were they held for 24 hours? Were they held for 48? Was jail time reinstated? What the deals were. Our jail time reinstated, that came down for the past couple of years, and where last year we didn't have any jail time that really got reinstated against anybody because of a failure. So that shows me that the court system, along with court services, are working well with these people and doing their 24, their 48-hour holds, and that's helping alleviate some problems of holding people in jail for longer periods of time in jail. So that was a good stat I seen there as well. Moving over to our total violations, then we were down by 28. So we had 28 less violations that we had to file overall. Scram bracelets, of course, that increased a little bit last year, so we had some more bracelets to use there. More people took advantage of the program last year, which was great. And then at the bottom, then I've got the statewide statistics. I won't really go over those, just we beat them out. So,
But Bart, quick question on the Scram bracelets again. Explain to me what they're doing. What's the difference between them coming in and what?
Oh, sure. The Scram bracelet is a device that fits on their ankle, and it takes a sample of their perspiration every hour.
Okay.
And that then records into a little computer inside the device, and they upload it to our place once a week. That it downloads all that information out of the bracelet. It sends it off to Colorado. Then we have access to it on the computer.
Okay.
And they send us alerts, if there's anything that needs done with the bracelets or anything like that.
How do you decide whether to be on the 24/7 program of PBP
Or the
or the Scram?
bracelet?
Yeah.
The courts, we work real close with the court system on this. That's one thing that we started back when Leanne was in a magistrate court, is leaving it up to us whether we put somebody on or not, unless they're actually ordered on the bracelet. Sometimes that happens. But if there's somebody that lives way out of town, or they travel a lot, or they live out of the county or something like that, then those are situations where we'll put them onto a bracelet, and if they can afford it as well, because it's more expensive in some relations to be on the bracelet, because it's $6 a day to be on it, but sometimes it's cheaper for them, because if they live in White, they're burning more in gas than they are just by paying the daily fee for the bracelet.
All right. Good. Thank you. Appreciate
I
that.
have a question about the revenue. One of the things that was talked about when we went out for commissioner training last week was funds in the 24/7 program. That $104,968, now that's considered a restricted fund, is that right?
Correct.
That's right.
Okay. And so what are you thinking? I mean, the fund gets bigger. What are you thinking that those funds will be used for? And particularly what I'm wondering is, when we're talking about our detention remodel, if we are doing a space for the 24/7 program, and that, can we use those monies for that? Is that allowed?
Yes. Yeah. It's also, we're using the funds for a full-time employee now, too. Well, I shouldn't say full-time, 75%. You guys, or the commission allowed me a month ago or 2 months ago to go ahead and put a full-time person in. So 75% of that funds is helping to pay for that full-time person, and she's in charge of the 24/7 program, and she's kind of the coordinator and takes care of the money and puts the bracelets on and takes them off and so forth. But yes, we can use that for. Minnehaha did that. Of course, they have 500 to come in a day.
Right.
So they have a little more in their budget. But yes, they used it for remodeling. We can use that. That's what I use to build I call it my hut, our little hut out back, so that they can come in and download. We use those funds, so it didn't come out of the commission or out of the county budget. So yes. So anything to do with 24/7 land, we could use that money for.
And it would look like the amount that comes in each month each year probably covers a lot of that salary cost. So,
Absolutely.
So
Yes.
we might be close to 100,000 to contribute, maybe, unless another need comes up for the remodel.
Hope so. Yeah.
Okay.
It'll be
Sounds
interesting
good.
to see what 2016 brings in, because we got more participants and so forth, and more drug patches too. I think you noticed we had 31 on drug patch, and we started with 1. We don't even have any statistics for 14, because we started, I think, basically our drug patch in 15 anyway, and we started out with 1, and now there's 30. I mean, we had 31, so that's. That costs us a little more money because we have to send the patch to get it analyzed and stuff. So we get some of that money back, but not all of it. But
It's almost a break even, but at least we're covering the expense of the program from the
Right.
fees that we're allowed to charge.
and that was the purpose of the legislature putting that in a special fund, so that they don't want the counties to be burdened with the 24/7 program, so that we can use that money. So when I budget, that money comes out of that fund, and it doesn't come out of the general budget.
Right. But eventually the state will be looking at what we sit with a sum of money there and seeing that as a resource, so. Pardon me?
No.
Yeah. So let's use ours for the remodel for the 24/7.
Well, absolutely, because when we remodel, we're going to have to. When we remodel, we got to figure out some
Exactly.
way for the 27 program, coming in and testing and so forth. So we have to design something to have that flow that
Exactly.
doesn't bother the regular flow of the jail.
Thank you.
My other thing that I handed out to you this morning is a flyer that we handed around to the inmates. It's put on by Lutheran Social Services. There is we got started off on this program finding out that the Lutheran Social Services is helping convicted felons with programs. There's one called MRT, and the other one's called Sabisa. Don't ask me what the anagrams are for at the moment. I don't have those wrote down. But it's rehabilitating type programs for people. And when we were working with their counselors on this, I was sort of feeling them out a little bit. Is there something we can do for the inmates while they're still sitting in jail, instead of waiting until they're done serving their time and you're working on these programs outside of the jail setting? So they had this program called Peace Education Program, and it teaches people a better way to be able to make decisions, thinking through problems instead of just reacting and ending up doing things illegally. So we started the program off 2 weeks ago with our inmate staff. We haven't got any guys to go yet, but our female inmates really like this, and we almost empty out the cell there every time that we have this. So they've had a good showing for that for the women for the class. It'll go through a 10-week program. They actually receive a certificate that they attended. We want to try to do something to try to do some help for the inmates before. There's sometimes some of these inmates are sitting there for months on end, and there's not really much that to do besides go to recreation, and they got their visitors that come in, and that gets into a monotonous thing every day. So we wanted to try to get something different going for them. outside of the Bible studies and things that we have like that. So we wanted to get this going. And it's been a really good turnout so far.
So far, the men haven't caught on. We don't force them, but hopefully we can talk them into, I think if they go down and just one time, they might. One thing good about it is, once they leave, what's to say if there's going to be any follow-up or they do anything. At least the way we got kind of a captive audience, they're there, and whatever. Even if one person comes out and changes their lifestyle, it's worth it. So
Can you do any mandatory for the men? I think this is wonderful. I thought I might like to see it even.
well, we'll encourage the
I might not be such a combative commissioner.
Well, if it's like
I wanted
church,
to sit on it too. So.
if it's like church services, they bring brownies in, and that usually encourages them. So I don't know.
Well, I think it would be great if you could somehow get the men started. So, maybe something mandatory for some of the bad actors would be.
And the nice thing too with this, with Lutheran Social Services being right here in town, if the person does leave the jail, and let's say in the middle of the 10-week period, they are still holding these classes at Lutheran Social Services anyways, and they're covering the same classes. So if the person got out of jail, they could still continue to follow up with that by going to their office and still continuing the course. So it still gives them a chance to continue with it.
And there's no cost, so that's nice.
All right.
That's all I've got.
Thank you very much. Any questions? All right. Appreciate your time. Thank you for the stats. All right. Misty, you want to come on up?
Good morning.
Good morning.
I'm also here for the bid
Okay.
also, but seems like weed complaints are already starting. Questions, what do we do? What do I do about thistles in my pasture? And
Yeah.
I had somebody spray and, oh my goodness, what do I do? Can you help me? Lots of questions already, which
Okay.
is,
Good.
I think we're going to have a good growing season and an early growing season. So I'm looking at having Gary come back on April 13th, and then Mike and Dreesen come back on the 18th of April, and start getting everything ready, and hopefully go out and get some of them gophers also, because they're sure digging out too. I also attended the Hamlin County annual meeting on March 14th, just to see how they do things. I was invited, so I had joined with them, and very interesting what a difference is, from Hamlin County to Brookings County's meetings that we have. And then also attended Dual County's meeting on the 18th of March. And that was interesting. And they had Hamlin and Dual had their meetings, their yearly meeting with the townships, which is, I think, the way we're going to do it next year. We'll work with Norris Patrick, and it seemed to smooth. It was real smooth run in Dual County. So that's kind of what I'm looking for. I also received a letter from the state stating that we were approved for a $5,700 grant for a chemical. So we'll be receiving that check. Otherwise, I'm ready to get the season started.
Did you want to mention your call from Moody County?
Oh, yes. Thank you, Commissioner Miller. I had a call from Moody County yesterday about 1 o'clock asking about our gopher program and wondering what steps we took, if there was any information I could possibly email to them, because they had a meeting last night with their townships. And they're looking to get the program started down there in Moody County. So I quickly prepared as much as I could possibly find and sent it to her. I have not heard nothing back from them, but obviously I must have sent what they needed. So.
Good. Yeah.
Misty, I know you're kind of looking at some alternative chemicals to use for spraying. How's that going with the regulations? And
I'm looking at using Tordon. And I'm only going to use Tordon where the water aquifer is not close to the surface. If the water aquifer is close to the surface, the Tordon will not be used there. It's only going to be used in problem areas. It's not going to be put in every tank. There's only going to be one vehicle it's used in, and one vehicle only. Also, which that brought up another point, I'm also looking at, I'm trying to get a cage built, but Highway's been busy. Denny, the welder fabricator, he's been so busy, he hasn't been able to get a cage built yet. So my plan of attack is to just go with a pallet racking, and Denny's going to tack the, oh man. I'm not a welder fabricator, but he's going to finish building it. We're going to put it up, and then he's going to put doors on the front so we can just open up and shut and then lock the chemical. But the Tordon is just going to be certain areas.
What she's talking about is to lock where we store our chemicals at the highway department.
And that way it's all in one spot, and it's not, over here or over here or in this truck. Or it's all in one area, and I can better keep track of what we have.
What does close to the aquifer mean? I mean, how far down, what are you talking about?
I don't know how far down, but the water is closer to the surface in the water aquifer.
And have you worked with Bob at all to look at our aquifer ordinance and make sure that we're going to be in compliance with what we need to be on that?
I have got a water aquifer map, an updated one, and I also have a well map where it has the test well map, test wells, your domestic wells, everything. It's in the general area. So we'll just be looking for the well caps, in the ditch, if the grass isn't too tall. So we know where it is. We'll have them maps with us.
I'm going to ask that question a little differently.
Okay.
Have you and Bob had a conversation about any concerns, because he's responsible for our aquifer protection ordinance stuff, about what that depth down needs to be? Have the two of you talked about that?
Not yet, but we will. We sure can.
Okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome. I was also wondering, when you said that Dual County and Hamlin County do some things different, was it the meeting that they do different, or the operation of their weed department?
It's their meetings.
Okay.
It's a little bit different. In Hamlin County, it's just Bob and one other guy. Excuse me. And right now, Dual County does not have a weed supervisor. So the weed board member is putting on the meetings and still applying for grants and trying to keep the ball rolling.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
This grant you got, was this first time, or is this?
No, we get this every year.
This is every year.
Oh, okay.
We go to the meeting. Well, this year it was in Mitchell for me. We go to 2 meetings every year and have 2 people from our county go, and then we receive that grant.
Okay. I was just thinking if it was special, I'm along Commissioner Jensen's lines that we should start experimenting with other chemicals, and which is fine. I'm a big fan of Milestone. I don't work for the company, but if you get it, for sure you're going to have to lock it up because
Right.
Yeah.
Well, and my understanding, if you use Milestone now, you need to contact every person. Say they're going to hay the ditch, and just a mile ditch. They're going to hay that ditch, and you want to use Milestone there, you need to contact that person that is cutting the hay, not the person that owns the land, the person that's cutting the hay, and tell them we're going to be using Milestone. They can't use it on their cattle if they're selling their cattle for slaughter. So Milestone will probably be out of the question, because there's going to be a lot of work that goes into that. And if we were to ever go to that, I foresee, honestly, and I know this is an expensive move, but we need to put computers in so we know exactly where we've sprayed, and we don't get ourselves into some kind of trouble.
Like a precision ag type
Yes.
GPS.
Yep.
Yeah, that's fine.
It's expensive, though. I was honestly looking at it because it'd be easier than grabbing your little marker. You know what I'm saying? You just push a button and keep going. But
Well, I see the price. There's a lot of competition beginning to develop, and I think that's a great idea, though, at some point.
And when you say expensive, in what range are you talking about?
last time I've looked it up, and Gary had also looked it up, it was like $800 a vehicle.
And how many vehicles do we have?
I would put it generally in the trucks. So we have 4 trucks. I would put it in. Now, and I'm not quite sure if there's a certain program you have to buy besides the tablet, which I'm pretty sure you do. That's another thing to look at too, how much the program itself is going to cost. That was just for the tablets, and I kind of shied away because it's a little bit of money.
Okay, maybe something down the road we can plan for. We need to. Yep.
I think it'd be worth her exploring further and letting us know more about it. $3,200 might not be out of our reach, but what would be the benefits? What benefit would we get from that? You could come back if you wanted and make a pitch, and I'm thinking if that's something you're not comfortable with the computer end of it, maybe Sean would be able to help you a little bit with that
I'd be
part.
happy for the computer.
I just, well, Raven has an office here in town, and they're big in it, but I'm just saying, I don't want to steer you to one company. But I think you're onto something, and I've never heard of used for your application you're coming up with. Could be a little cutting edge, but the university has a group of students and a precision ag section, department, major, minor, whatever. And so there might be somebody up there that would work, and we could be their experimental unit. I have never heard of this, but that's a good idea.
I know surveyors have their four-wheelers
They do it all the time.
with their four-wheelers, and surveyors
Oh, yep.
will use four-wheelers to go out and to survey when they can't drive out to on ag land and stuff, and they have their four-wheelers equipped with GPS, and I don't know if the computer's actually right on there or not, but I know it's in the truck when they're doing it, but I mean, that's probably down the road, so.
Well, and we'll be budgeting. We'll be working on budgets in June, and if you bring us some information, maybe we can budget for it for 2017.
Sounds good to me.
Any more questions? All right,
Thank
thank
you.
you. We'll see you in a little bit.
Yep.
All right, Mike. Morning.
Good morning. A few things that's been going on. I did attend the DAV meeting on the 8th, Legion on the County Legion meeting on the 14th, and I was up on campus the afternoon of the 15th. Did go out to the Welfare Spring Convention, the State Welfare Director Spring Convention. Had a good meeting out there, a lot of good information. And another thing that we did on the afternoon of the 17th, we met with Commissioner Sutton out of Brown County and have kind of rewritten some of the catastrophic relief program for the welfare side of things. And so one of the concerns we had as far as individuals on the board, we do have a 3-member group, one involving a auditor, a welfare director, and a state's attorney that will review the catastrophic claims as they come in to see whether or not they would be approved by that the county commissioners on the catastrophic board. And I guess otherwise, we did have 122 calls coming in, made 76 calls going out. Since I was gone so much, it was just Irene, is evidently she doesn't call out as much as I do. But we had 27 veterans stop in and 33 for the welfare side of it. Sometimes the welfare side will go up because we did have a couple burial people that inquired about burials, and so that's why that increase was there. Any questions?
Questions for Mike? All right, thank you. All right, we will move on to letter C, the Finance Officer's Report, presentation of the 2015 Annual Report. Good morning, Vicki.
Morning. Just to kind of give you an update too from our office, Bob reported that somebody from our office, it's going to be Jennifer Beller, is going to be going with him to the meetings in Sioux Falls on April 19th. And I do think, just like Bob said, that our office has to be in on the ground floor of all these grants, so we are able, when the auditors come, to give them all the information that they need. So we will be sending her to that and be in on the ground floor of that. And we got a new shipment of license plates in last week, or actually 2 weeks ago, so that is going good. We're trying to store everything we have in our office so they don't have to be going up and down the elevator or steps to the basement. So that has worked out so good so far, because they are doing it in like every 2 to 3 months we've been getting a shipment of plates. And we did receive the blinds for the conference room between the finance office and the equalization office. That is something that's paid by joint powers. I think it was a $600 charge, and they will be coming to put those in hopefully the end of this week or the beginning of next week. So we will be looking forward to having those in. And the annual report you should have received in your packet. This is just a condensed version of the annual report, and it has been published in the paper, and we have filed it with the Department of Legislative Audit. So that has been done. One major difference this year is last year there were 2 major funds, just the general fund and the road and bridge fund. And this year the county building fund was also a major fund because of the designations for the new detention center of $2 million. So that made that go up to a major fund. And I don't know if anybody has any questions on this, but we do have the whole exhibit, which is like about 150 pages. We do have that in our office that anybody can look at, and this will also be on the website too. So that will be on after today.
All right.
And any
Questions on that?
Okay.
Sorry. I just have a question as relates to the reference to the pension fund in there, that $1 million sum. Could you explain to me why the county has those monies and they don't go to SDRS? I don't quite understand the process.
Well, it's the pension fund that if we have to pay out, well, it would be, it is something that the county has to account for, according to state law, how much is in the retirement fund. It's something that the county has paid in, both our portion and the employer's portion, and that is something that has always been included in the annual report.
So what that fund is the employee's contribution, the county's contribution. Do we actually hold those funds? Don't we send them to
No,
SDR?
it's sent into
okay, that's
to the
what I was
retirement.
wondering.
No,
Okay.
we don't hold it. But it is something that's included in the annual report because we have contributed to it.
Okay.
So,
And we don't have any future liability on those funds that have gone in?
no.
Okay.
No.
Thank you.
And we do also have to figure in there how many, like, if we were going to pay out the absences, like if somebody retired or somebody left, that is also figured in there. We figure out how much it would cost us to pay those out, and that is considered a liability. So that's included in the annual report as well.
Thank you.
And if there's not any other questions, I've also included the investment policy, monies and transfers. And that is according to our investment policy that was updated in 2015. And in there, about the only difference is we had Wells Fargo Bank that isn't participating this year. At the end of the year, we send out the forms asking them if they want to participate. And what they have to do is send back the loan dollar amount that they have for the year, for the 2015 year. And this year, Wells Fargo decided not to participate. And in talking to them, it was more the interest rate. They did not want to pay the interest rate that was required for the money markets. They figured they'd probably, in a later date, later year, participate again, but they are not participating this year. So that is a difference, and it just goes through and shows how the monies are transferred from the different banks according to the loan numbers.
So we took that money out
Yes,
of Wells Fargo?
yes,
Wow.
yep.
1.2 million.
Yeah.
Yeah, over $1 million got taken out of Wells Fargo.
Amazing. Okay.
So,
And would you explain how the loan amount is determined? How the banks report that, or?
the banks report that. They report, as of December 31st of 2015, how many loan dollars they have out for Brookings County. So that is reported by each bank. And then from there, we take it and figure the percentage of what should be in each bank. And that does not include CDs. We have $3,004,000 in CDs, and that is done each time that becomes due a CD. We check with the banks and see who wants the money and what interest rate, and that's more on whoever will give the highest interest rate. But the money market, that is a quarterly change. We get that from one of the banks that it's through FDIC, and they give us what the interest rate is, and that does fluctuate each quarter. And then this quarter, it's 0.520. And I believe the quarter before that, it was 0.117, so it did go up quite a bit. So that is when Wells Fargo decided not to participate this year. And there shows the CDs, what we have with the different banks.
The daily checking, I'm surprised how low it is. How do you manage to do that?
Well, daily checking, whenever we have, like a claim cycle now that is going through our payroll, we put money in it every time before the payroll. So we keep track of exactly what's going to be paid out with the claims. We take that money and we take it out of our money market and put it in our checking account. So we keep it, fairly low. And with the refund checking, that is something that is, we called it a treasurer's account when we were separated, but it's now called the refund checking. That is if somebody comes into the treasurer's office and we have to do a change check. Maybe they had a check from the car dealership or whatever, and it was paid over by $8 or something. We do a refund check. And also if somebody comes in with commercial plates and we do a refund, then we use that account as well. And also the refund checking, we do use a lot during tax time when we get from escrow companies. If we get checks for taxes and they're already paid by maybe the owner themselves, then we use that checking account to send them a refund check back. So.
All right.
Okay. Thanks.
Did you want to, financiers report for February?
Yes, I'll do that too at the same time. Okay. We have the be it noted items, the auditor's account with the treasurer, the payroll and additives total, the highway expenditure report, and the register of deeds statement of fees collected. And all the other reports are there. The general fund surplus analysis, we are down to 0.506%. But again, we haven't gotten much in taxes, and we've paid out a lot of non-mandated. So that is to be expected. So that should be coming up now as we start getting tax dollars in. So, any other questions?
Vicki, when you look at the chart, part of it's blue, it's February 2016 additives and then February 2016 payroll. Does our gross payroll figure then include those contributions to SDRS, both the employer and the employee, on the pink side?
On the pink side, it's just the payroll and what we pay out to the different departments. On the additives, that is what goes into SDRS.
Okay.
It would be the employer and the employee.
So it's not when we're just kind of thinking our monthly payroll, which I kind of think of the retirement deduction as being part of that, that's not included in the total on the pink side.
No, that is just
Okay.
the actual check.
Thank
And
you.
then the additives, you have to put those together for the actual, what we are paying for the payroll, basically. Okay.
All right.
Anything else?
Thank you.
I-
Appreciate it.
I'm sorry, I do have another question. When we look at the, and I'm not getting to the right form, the amount that we have spent on JDC so far this year, juvenile expenses, and it looks like we're maybe going to be over budget.
Right.
When do we address that? Because we're,
Yeah, and it's already, when we're doing claims, Jennifer came and said that she thinks too we're going to be over budget. We will talk about it when we do go over budget. We can take it out of contingency when it happens and look at it again at the end of the year to make sure we have enough. But we have to look at it when it comes delinquent. And for sure again at the end of the year.
and we're getting close. So.
Yeah. And yeah, good to bring that up because we definitely will be short in that. So
Thank
that
you.
is something we'll have to take out of contingency.
All right. Thank you. All right, we'll move on. We have a scheduled agenda item that will be at 1 o'clock for a work session for our strategic plan. Move on to number 8, letter A, action to approve 2016 annual weed bids to low bid on all items listed to Ramsdale's of Brookings, South Dakota. Look for a motion, please. Second. Okay. Discussion. Misty, comments?
Just had a real quick discussion. This will be my first time dealing with Ramsdale's. They've got the lowest bid, and wow, they come down a lot from last year. Last year, they bid for 2,4-D. It was $14.50 a gallon.
Good.
So, but otherwise,
All right.
Ramsdale's.
Okay. Any questions or any comments? Dan?
Okay, so that's the bid. Does that then make it that we have made a final decision on the Tordon?
Yes.
If
and-
we adopt that? And I'm just going to say, I'm a little concerned about us making a final decision to use Tordon until Bob has looked at that and make sure that we don't have any aquifer issues.
I don't think that's going to be a problem because she knows where they are and they'll deal with that. And I guarantee you, she's not going to spray where there could be an issue. They worry about that too much in our department.
I'm okay with our weed board and Misty visiting
Yeah.
with Bob and making sure I'm, not into killing things that we don't want to kill or ourselves, but I'm sure it'll be applied safely. I think the weed board will properly supervise. I'm comfortable.
And I guess this is the bid process. This doesn't mean we have to purchase, right? If something comes up between the two
Okay.
that just says, I'm a little concerned about this, I'm going to hold off, it doesn't mean we have to purchase Tordon or use that. And I guess I would say, if something does come up with that and you guys are concerned about this, maybe it's something we come back in the next meeting saying, hey, the statute may or may not, we're thinking we're not going to, what are your thoughts? But if everything checks out fine and you feel comfortable doing it, then you can purchase, I guess, so.
I know it's my supplier, Volga.
I'm sorry, what was that?
My supplier, Volga, isn't on there, and I think there's Sinai. I bought things from there. Did they just not submit bids, or?
Nobody submitted bids, but Ag First and Ramsdale's. There was a chemical company out of Minnesota, D'Angelo Brothers Incorporated. They called a day before and wanted me to fax them information. I did, but they didn't turn in a bid. But Ag First and Ramsdale's were the only ones that turned in a bid.
That's fine, but yeah, you don't contact them, you advertise that.
Advertise it in the paper.
Yeah.
And I advertised it in 4 papers, the Elkton, the White, Volga, and Brookings.
Yeah.
So,
Okay, any more discussion? Hearing none, please call the roll.
Wyseth,
Aye.
Miller,
Aye.
Jensen,
Aye.
Pierce,
Aye.
Krogman,
Aye.
motion carries.
Thank you.
thank you.
All right, letter B, action to approve agreement 16-24, a retention letter to contract with attorney Steve Bogue to conduct union negotiations.
I'm just going to say before we take any kind of action on this, and I know that's not our normal procedure, we had a discussion with the Cottington County people along these lines as far as a person to represent us, and they have somebody that they highly recommended, and it sounded to me like it might be considerably less money. So I would like to hold off on this until we have a chance to get more information from them, if the board agrees.
I'm
do a
willing
motion
to
to
delay.
table?
I had a couple of questions about the letter anyway, and appreciate that because I'm always looking for new ideas, and thanks for bringing that up. So I am willing to wait. I know there's a time frame with the budget and et cetera, but you know, the negotiations will result some change in the budget, but
I would
have a
move to
motion.
table that for 2 weeks.
Thank you.
Or till our next meeting. And in the meantime, check out what our other option is.
Second that? Okay. Further discussion
do
on
we
that?
even have an action item yet? I mean,
We were.
Did we make a motion to even?
Table it.
Table it.
Oh.
Leanne made a motion to table, and Stephanie seconded it, so. Further discussion on the motion to table till next, so. All right, please call the roll.
Miller,
Aye.
Jensen,
Aye.
Pierce,
Aye.
Wyseth,
Aye.
Krogman,
Aye.
motion carries.
And then, I don't remember the gentleman's names. If Stacy or Larry could give or Ryan, maybe you remember, information to Stacy so that she can
I
maybe
can
check it out.
contact Cindy, the auditor up in
Okay.
Cottington County too. She and I know each other well, so I can contact her and get that
Perfect.
information.
And they may be, like I said, they may be here tomorrow.
Yeah, she won't.
Oh,
be
you
here.
won't be, okay,
Yeah.
gotcha, yeah,
But yes, they're planning on it,
Okay.
being here tomorrow too, so you can visit with them then.
okay, gotcha. All right, letter C, action to approve agreement 16-25, a memorandum of understanding between SDSU Extension and Brookings County.
Move to approve.
Is there a second?
Second.
Second. Discussion.
I reviewed this compared to the MOU that we had with them last year. The only difference was the amount of money, our share of the salary for the 4-H youth advisor. That amount was budgeted in our 2016 budget. That 18,320 was in our budget for 2016.
Okay. Any further discussion? Hearing none, call the roll, please.
Jensen,
Aye.
Pierce,
Aye.
Wyseth,
Aye.
Miller,
Aye.
Krogman,
Aye.
motion carries.
Letter D, action to approve agreement 16-26, an application for occupancy of right-of-way made by Sioux Valley Energy.
Move approval.
Second?
Second.
Discussion. Hearing none, please call the roll.
Pierce,
Aye.
Wyseth,
Aye.
Miller,
Aye.
Jensen,
Aye.
Krogman,
Aye.
motion carries.
Letter E, action to approve agreement 16-27, an application for occupancy of the right-of-way made by Sioux Valley Energy.
So move.
Is there a second?
Second.
Discussion. Hearing none, please call the roll.
Wyseth,
Aye.
Miller,
Aye.
Jensen,
Aye.
Pierce,
Aye.
Krogman,
Aye.
motion carries.
Letter F, action to approve agreement 16-28, an application for occupancy of right-of-way made by Sioux Valley Energy.
Move to approve.
Is there a Second. Discussion. Hearing none, please call the roll.
Miller,
Aye.
Jensen,
Aye.
Pierce,
Aye.
Wyseth,
Aye.
Krogman,
Aye.
motion carries.
Letter G, action to approve resolution 16-11, a resolution authorizing the purchase of concrete pipe based upon the price established through Lincoln County, South Dakota bid process.
So move.
Is there a second?
Second.
Second. Okay, discussion. Any discussion on that? Hearing none, please call the roll.
Jensen,
Aye.
Pierce,
Aye.
Wyseth,
Aye.
Miller,
Aye.
Krogman,
Aye.
motion carries.
All right, letter H, action to approve resolution 16-12, a resolution formally establish Brookings County Jail Expansion Advisory Committee.
Move
to
approval.
approve. Second.
Second. Okay, discussion. Comments on that? Everybody okay with the composition of the board?
Yep.
All right, hearing none, call the roll, please.
Pierce,
Aye.
Wyseth,
Aye.
Miller,
Aye.
Jensen,
Aye.
Krogman,
Aye.
motion carries.
Letter I, action to approve automatic supplement for the sheriff's office in the amount of $500 and insurance reimbursement payment.
Move approval?
Is there a second?
Second.
Second. Discussion. This is revenue, right, or coming in?
This is revenue from reimbursement from an insurance refund for, a deer accident. And a vehicle was damaged, and we're getting refunded from insurance.
All right. Do we get to keep the deer? All right. Okay, any further discussion? Hearing none, call the roll, please.
Wyseth,
Aye.
Miller,
Aye.
Jensen,
Aye.
Pierce,
Aye.
Krogman,
Aye.
motion carries.
Letter J, discussion and possible action on the wage grade change for Deputy Finance Officer. Look for a motion for discussion purposes.
I'll move to approve for discussion purposes.
Second?
Second.
Second. All right, discussion. Vicky?
You should have received in your packet that kind of outlines the duties of the deputy finance officer. And I guess I am just kind of going by equalization. I feel like with the combined offices that the auditor and treasurer together as a finance have as many duties and responsibilities as the equalization office. It has been at a 7, and I know I'm asking to move it to a 9. And I'm doing it just mainly for that reason, that I feel like we have as many responsibilities for the finance office as the other office. And it just kind of gives you a range of what they do. They supervise people when I'm not there. They run elections, which is they train the temporary election workers and the poll workers, and they also hire the temporary election people, and between the two, it's at least 80 people. And they maintain an active voter file. They do the ballots online. They create those and does the payroll, works with like 3 different computer programs with the voters, the Motor V, and with the Encode Tyler system. So, and you can read, there's other duties there, but I guess the main supervisor duties are the election and supervise when I'm gone and payroll.
Okay. Discussion.
Well, you all know I was the contrary vote when we did it for the auditor's office, and I want to say this again. First of all, this has nothing to do with the person in the position who does an outstanding job.
Yes.
And but it makes me extremely uncomfortable for us to change our wage system one employee at a time. When we made that decision as relates to the other position, we spend over the next 20 years over $100,000 in extra funds without looking at how that's going to impact other wages and positions. I think if we are looking at changing our steps and changing our payroll, we should do a study, and we should look at each position and look at our employees uniformly and not do it one at a time like this, where we're looking at one individual in one position. I don't think that's the right way to run what is the most expensive thing we spend money on. We need good employees, and we got great employees. I do appreciate that. But payroll, when we change somebody's salary level today, that impacts every budget from now on as relates to that position. It's a huge decision, and I think we should have our HR person, and I think when we talk about strategic planning, we should consider putting in there that this year we'll do a wage and step, our whole system. We'll just look at our whole system, see what needs to be fixed, and if we're in the right position or not as relates to our employees.
We have a study.
How old is that, do you know?
It was done last year, wasn't it? Mm-hmm.
The First District Association did a statewide, our planning districts did a statewide study.
So we know where we compare with the state.
Right, but that didn't look at our steps and how we apply our steps and our ratings, so.
Well, I think that's a good point. I mean, we have the wage comparisons, but we don't have the job description responsibility analysis of the relationships. I guess I have no problem doing 8 right now. Let's move forward and doing an entire wage structure. That's the way I look at it right now. Talk me one way or the other. Convince me, but I don't have a problem with 8 because it does seem like we're too low right now without doing any wage structure. But I agree, Leon, Commissioner Pierce, that should always look at the job qualifications and how the whole system interrelates. So.
I'm with Tom. 2 steps bothers me, but I would have no problem going to 8 as well. The thing is, you know, then we could look at it again after if we do another study concerning our steps and budget for it if we decide to go again. And I guess that would be I would go to 8.
Question on this history. You know, obviously it says we're unique in the fact that we've combined our 2 offices. And the process that happened, I was not here when that happened. We've combined our auditors and our treasurer's office into finance. And any comments from you, Vicki, on that too? So basically, we put those together. You were at the auditor's office and moved to the treasurer's office. And what was your position called when you moved over? Were you doing elections?
I was solely doing elections at that time.
Okay.
And when we combined into the finance office, initially everything kind of stayed status quo for May, June, July, but then in the fall, Vicki looked at restructuring all of the positions, coming up with a deputy finance officer, and she, at that time, she and Stephanie worked together to restructure the office and come up with the different positions and their classifications and where they fell within that within our wage ranges.
Did we add, when we combined it, did we add employees at all?
No, we did not.
No.
But we lost a couple, correct?
If anything, we lost people during the combination time. There were, 3.5 FTEs in the auditor's office at the time that when the offices combined, and there were 5
in the treasurer's.
So we had 8.5. We're down to 8 FTEs now.
Okay. And I guess I'm looking at it this way. They're going, if we can try to compare, you know, our auditor treasurer from other counties, you look at what they're paying for the 2 and what we're paying, you know, for ours. And I think we have still a pretty good deal going by combining that. We made some efficiencies and some cuts in that wages in that time to do that. And I feel that it's kind of starting to build up that we either have to start paying better or we need to also look at some more FTEs in that area with all that they take care of in that group. That's what my concern is. And I think our deputy treasurer has more responsibilities than they've ever had, and I think it's a combination of the auditor treasurer group. It's not apples to apples to me, I guess. I think. And
I tried to explain that in my staff report when I gave you deputy auditor and deputy treasurer comparables. In my report, they're not truly comparables because the deputy finance office position has duties that fall within the auditor's realm and within the treasurer's realm. And actually right now down there, any of the 8 in that office could step up to the counter and do license plates and take tax money. That's all a treasurer's office function. So it truly is combined. There's, they're and they're getting more and more cross-trained, but it's going to be very hard to do a wage study and compare to other counties in South Dakota because there is none that are set up the way we are. And Hughes County has a finance officer. It's one elected position, and she oversees auditor, treasurer, and equalization.
Register of
registered
Deeds.
auditor, treasurer, registries, those three. But the offices are separate. When you go there, you go to the Register of Deeds office, and there's staff in there, and they're not responsible for auditor and treasurer functions. They're just responsible for Register of Deed functions, and that's how. But they have one person that oversees it. She, in essence, I think, runs the auditor's office. I think for the most part there, she probably spends the most time in that office, which Vicki does some of both too herself. So there's really not another county we can compare ourselves to.
And I guess my thought was that I like us doing that because I think there's some efficiencies. There's cross-training. If somebody has maternity leave, if somebody has a sickness, there's people that can step up. We're looking to doing the same thing at the emergency management and the zoning to have some cross-training in case that. And I like that. And there's efficiencies for us. And I think we're saving taxpayer dollars. But my concern is the amount of workload that gets put on those individual peoples with two there. So I definitely want to take a look at it, Leanne. I like your idea of a study of our whole wage system, but sometimes you're going to have to take a look at individual people and their responsibilities and make sure they're getting compensated. So I don't have a problem with the 8. I don't know if I want to jump to a 9. I'm not sure that's something we've ever done. I'm not sure we want to open that, but I guess I'd be with you guys on that 8 with a study.
And I do want to say, you talked a little bit about apples and oranges. By giving this person an increase, they will not be able to carry more workload because I'm convinced that everybody in the finance office is working to the best of what their time limits will allow them to do. And I think that one of the things, and I think we've had a little bit of conversation about this, that maybe when we get to budget time, Vicki needs to be asking us for another FTE for that office because I think they're short-staffed. So that issue isn't tied in with what we're doing here today because I am in support of increasing an FTE in the finance office. I think we need to do that.
I guess one number could we get, I guess that might be apples to apples, would be overall budget for staff, for auditor, treasurer, for a county, and our overall budget, for staff, for our finance department.
Right.
If you combine them, then you have a chance to say, okay, we're spending, $250,000 on staff, and Brown County combined auditor and treasurer is spending $275. We can see where we're at,
Right.
maybe combined together, maybe then get a truer picture of what we're spending in our combined office.
Right. I agree with that. I guess I was just looking at when the offices were combined, I got moved up a grade compared to the other department heads, but my deputy was still down. And I didn't think that's fair. The deputy definitely has a lot more responsibility, but not just the deputy. Everybody in our office has had to step up and be able to perform all those extra duties. So, I looked at the deputy because equalization came in, but I think every position in there has to be looked at. I really do. They do an amazing job, and my biggest complaint in the office has always been those front counter people. They've never gotten I don't think the wage they deserve. They handle a lot of money. They have to know what's going on in the office to tell people where to go, and they are the face of Brookings County, those front counter people. And if people have a problem with Brookings County, it's more than likely with the ones that they come in contact with there. So, I would really like to see the whole office looked at. So
I have to agree with Vicki. When the offices were combined, this is one of the positions that didn't get compensated like it should have. I think the responsibilities are there. You're looking at a grade 7 to a grade 9, there's $1,250 difference in a year. It's $100 a month difference. Just where you sit on the scale, I believe if you're 9, you got more room to move up. 8, you'd be mid-range.
right. It would be probably not quite mid-range yet.
So are you looking?
I'm definitely 8.
8 for sure. Are you looking at 9? Is that what you want to see, a 9 or?
Well, we can look at that in the future too.
Okay, okay.
Definitely the 8.
I think it's, when we start talking budget, we need to look at this office.
I agree.
And that's the time to do it.
Yeah.
For now, I think if we go to the 8, and Commissioner Pierce said it very eloquently, it has nothing to do with the person in that position or anybody else in your office. You
Right.
all do a marvelous job, and I wouldn't want the job that those front counter girls have for anything.
Right.
So they deal with difficult people. And so, it's, we do recognize that your office works very, very hard, and we'll take a look at it at budget time.
Okay.
That's what I'm saying. The dollar amount's not a huge, it's where you're placed in the steps.
Yep, yep. So, okay, well, right now we had a motion for discussion really to get here. I'd look for some type of a substitute motion to identify what we're going to do.
Was it a motion to discuss or a motion for what was written, which was a 9?
Right.
So we could take an amendment to make it an 8?
Amendment if you want to. Okay, or substitute, yeah.
So move and make amendment
To
to
raise
say
to
8.
8.
And I'll second.
Second that, okay. Further discussion on the amendment? Hearing none, please call the roll on the amendment.
Miller,
Aye.
Jensen,
Aye.
Pierce,
Aye.
Wyseth,
Aye.
Krogman.
Aye.
Amendment carries.
Okay, we have a motion on the table as amended to raise from pay grade 7 to 8 for the deputy finance. Any further discussion? Hearing none, please call the roll.
Jensen,
Aye.
Pierce,
Aye.
Wyseth,
Aye.
Miller,
Aye.
Krogman.
Aye.
Motion carries.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you, Kristen. All right, letter K, discussion on a vote center location on SDSU campus. Go ahead and we can start discussion. Leanne, I think you had,
I think I was the person that initiated this being put on the agenda. I did have a conversation with Keith Corbett, and I said to him, it's a little frustrating. We're back to an election year again. I'm pretty sure we're going to get asked questions about polling places. We have sent letters to SDSU. We never got back a response. And he said, would we send him whatever letters we sent out, he would look into it and take care of it. And then Ryan suggested we put it back on the agenda to discuss that. So that's where we're at. I think that it would, let me back up a minute. One of the things that we talked about is how it turned out at Swiftel. Does anybody have any statistics on what happened at Swiftel in our last election?
Yes.
It did increase
Yes.
quite a bit for the
Yes.
general election at Swiftel in November of 14.
I think, Stacy, you can kind of back me on this one. I think for the primary of 14, it only had a couple hundred voters that actually voted at that location, but it did increase for the general. Forgive me, I didn't look at the numbers, but it was somewhere between 800 and 900, I think. So it did increase significantly between the two elections. Also, it wasn't a presidential year, so this year I do expect it to do quite a bit better, especially since it already has been a location, a couple times, and people are getting used to that. So I guess, at this time, I have planned on using that location again.
Mr. Chair?
yes.
And that's where I think we should leave it. They've not asked. We asked them to provide us. We offered to do the PAC Center, and that was not what they wanted. And so I thought this was a non-issue. I was surprised when this was on our agenda again, because they've not been back. And I truly feel that it's important that we keep these places consistent. They need to be the same so people know where to go to vote. And so, my vote would, obviously this is not an action item, but for discussion purposes, I believe we should leave it at Swiftel.
I guess I see the letters written to a student association president.
Mhm.
That guy's 2 years into a job somewhere, and when he gets a letter that affects something down the road, and no offense to student leadership, but they've got what's in front of them now, and that includes being a graduate, probably within a year, and it needs to go to their advisor. But you're right, they'll bring it up as soon as they have a meeting and they realize in September that's all coming to a head. But I don't know if you want to follow up with you already did with.
I just want us to have had a conversation and made a decision, so when a citizen, and there are particular people that will ask about this, we can say we looked at it, we considered it, and we're going to do this or we're going to do that. I just want us to have an answer.
Okay. Kristen, would you state your name? Sorry.
Kristen Witchy, Deputy Finance Officer.
Okay, great.
Sorry.
And so your recommendation would be to leave them where they're at now and can.
Yeah, I would recommend that. I feel like the citizens have gotten used to it, and with the vote centers, it is more convenient than it used to be. Somebody, for instance, who lives in Elkton, they don't have to drive all the way back to Elkton to vote. Same with campus and things like that. They can vote any location that's close to them and most convenient.
I guess, if they came forward, first of all, it's hard to hire people today. I mean,
It is. It's very, very hard to find people to work those locations.
And so if they came with a list of qualified people and some money, I mean, I'd put one up there. Well, there is 4,000 people that live in the dorms on campus, quite frankly. And I guess I'd be willing, but...
The other thing, too, to keep in mind is last year, in 2014, we passed a resolution to say, yes, we're going to do vote centers. And we listed off the locations. And then for November, we added Holy Life Tabernacle, if you remember. So now we have 4 locations in the city of Brookings. That resolution, in looking at it, just the verbiage said it was for 2014. I think we wanted to make sure vote centers are something we wanted to do. So we will need to pass a resolution that will permanently establish our vote center locations. And I'm telling you right now, for the primary, Kristen needs that sooner rather than later.
Yes.
And I'm thinking, if we do something at SDSU, I think you're only going to want it for the November general elections. You're not going to want to put a location in the beginning of June on campus. No one's there. So keep that in mind too, that we want to bring that forward. If we aren't ready in 2 weeks, we will need that probably by the end of April, that resolution passed to establish those. And it can be amended too, like we said, we added Holy Life, but I think we want to get that in front of you sooner rather than later.
Yeah, I think so. I just do want to point out, there is 4,000 students, and they do not leave that campus that are there, because everything they want, the wellness center, the food and everything, they go to Walmart once in a while. But quite frankly, once they're in that parking lot, those cars stay there for those people. But I think the cost, labor, and everything is prohibitive. I mean, I'd love to have them every 20 blocks or something, but we can't do that. But I guess I'm willing to look if they're willing to. Be a great learning experience for them.
All right, so we kind of have a consensus. We're going to keep it where we're at there. Stuff when we've had the discussion. So if anybody has any questions, so too. So.
And then Stacy's going to put together something so we get a permanent resolution.
Yes.
The other concern that I have, and I would very much like to see us run an ad, and I think maybe in the shopper, but it's up to everybody else if they're interested in this. I know our citizens don't understand polling places. I know that they don't understand that they could go vote in any one of these places. And we need to do something that educates people so that we're encouraging more people to get out and vote and do it conveniently.
I think
We do have
In
ads.
2014, we put out kind of a brochure/flyer that explained what vote centers are, and it explained where the locations
Came out
were
in
and
the
that you
paper.
could go anywhere to vote. It still is. It's relatively new, and I think we could do something like that. We could just update it for
Oh, absolutely.
this
Yes.
year's
But
election
I actually
cycle.
do still have that copy.
I even remember, well, of course, it's my memory, but I remember ads.
Yeah, I
That's-
think we need to do ads.
Okay.
We did do ads.
Yeah, we need to do that again, I think. It's worth educating our public, our citizens, on what we're doing to help them get to the polls. And I think we should do another ad, because the brochure, it's nice to have, that's great, but most people in the county will never see that.
Yeah,
Well,
and we
it went out in the
published it,
paper.
though. I think we
It
published
went in
it.
in the yellow paper. The brochure did.
Yeah, I did. Yeah, it
The
did.
whole
It went-
thing?
It went,
Yes,
yes,
it
we
went in
actually
the
put
yellow
an
paper.
insert. Now
Yes.
it's all coming back to me
Yes.
now. It's
Yeah,
been a
right.
couple of years.
By golly, I am the oldest, I remember it was an
We
insert. I'm
paid-
really happy. I don't have Alzheimer's
We
yet.
paid to have that brochure
Longest serving.
placed as an insert inside the shopper, so we knew it was getting out to the majority of the people in the county.
Can you tell us when we meet next time and look at our resolution what that cost?
Yes.
Okay.
All right. Well, good discussion. Okay. Thanks, Kristen. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right, we will move on. Commission Department Director Report.
Let me get back to where we're supposed to be here. Go down to my report. Speaking of advertising, we have posted the public notices for the volunteer board appointments that we have open right now. The Housing and Redevelopment Board has one 5-year position. We tried to find bylaws that say what that term should be, and what we did find wasn't bylaws, and it really didn't specifically state the May, but I think what we will do is we'll do this one for a May 1st start. I think we'll leave it from May to April, but we'll do those appointments at the same time as all of the rest of them. So we're not having to worry about one in the spring of each year. So, no.
I've talked to a number of people about the fact that we have 3 positions available. And I said to them, if you're interested in serving, go to the website and look, and it'll tell you. I can't find it myself on the website. One of them called and said, can't find it on the website. I went and looked, and I can't find it on the website.
I'll visit with Michelle and see if that got put on there. But we do have the Housing and Redevelopment Commission. We have the Planning and Zoning Commission as that one position. It's to fill that remaining term. Must reside in District 2, and those are all listed there. And then we have the 2 positions on the Jail Expansion Committee that we will also be appointing, hopefully April 5th. Hopefully we get some applications in for those. Part of Vicky's finance office report included the general fund surplus analysis. I did get that information updated through February now for you, and that was part of my report showing just the history of that. The notices of award for the 4 preliminary engineering grants that the county received for bridges through the big grant program, those came in. Those were included with my report. Obviously, Dick's not here today. They're really just for our information at this time. They'll be sending some funding agreements at a later date that we will need to have take action on, and the board will need to approve at a later date. Probably the most recent and maybe the last, maybe not, the SDACC legislative update was included with my packet. Also from there, and I'm sure you've probably all received this as well from Chris Jacobson with SDACC, but with Senate Bill 2, with the new alcohol beverage fund distribution bill, the governor did sign that. There was some question whether he was going to or not, but he did. They're estimating, and she wanted to emphasize it was just an estimate at this time, but almost $125,000 we're looking at coming into the county through this new funding source.
This change would take place on July 1st, and was so right, I assume? The law changed, yeah. The 25%. And then, so then when would we start seeing the money is one, but that doesn't have to be answered right now. Just something to be thinking about. Are we going to give a blank check to Marty and say, put more officers out? Are we going to reduce our budget? I mean, we could just say, well, we're getting by just fine the way it is, so let's leave it where it's at. I think we need to be thinking about what we're going to do with this money. Do we need more officers? Do we need more cars? Do we need more whatever? Well, you don't need cars unless you hire the officers, but it's something we need to be thinking.
Expansion.
Yeah,
The
and that's
detention center.
that was going to be my next question. Can it be put towards capital projects versus operational. And I didn't know the fine print of the bill.
They don't have the rules yet. They're working on the rules, and we'll know that once the rules come out.
Okay.
But I'm firmly convinced that until our expansion is done, that if we're going to get, I think, 100,000 approximately a year, is that what? 125?
Almost.
That should go into our detention center expansion fund until we're done with that project. And then after that, we probably will have some staffing issues that'll come up as a result of that to deal with.
And that's my understanding, what county commissioners and sheriffs testified to is the increased cost of jails housing inmates and room,
That's the reason we have to expand.
right. So,
But we have to wait for the rules so we can read them.
Right.
Thank you for clarifying. I guess I just didn't know what the fine print was on it.
And then we discussed this, I know, in the winter, and I said I would make notes and bring this in front of you again as spring approaches. Spring is here, although the weather doesn't indicate that it's going to be very spring-like tomorrow. But the concrete on the south side of the County Resource Center continues to be an issue. So now that we're getting closer to that spring, summertime, now would be the time to start looking at what we want to do to fix that.
Well, fix it. I mean,
Exactly.
I think this was fixed once before. Was it?
Yes.
Well, obviously, we need more footings there to adjust for the frost. Apparently, just tearing it up and laying it down. I'd say let's get going on getting it done right and find out what's going to cost. That's my opinion.
It's not something that we have to do an RFP for. So, what is the proper step to get somebody to give us a bid on that? Just talk to contractors?
You can just get quotes, but it's not going to be over the 25,000.
Well, it's not. Yeah, it won't be. I mean, it's not that big a piece, but it does have to be dug down far enough. I mean, it's got to be done right this time. I'm not sure how to proceed.
I guess if contact some contractors, get quotes.
Yep.
Bring them to the board.
And I guess, suggestions, say, I can do it for $1,000, and you just get what you got, and next year we're doing it again. I mean, they need to have a proposal to solve the problem. Yeah,
Yes.
in which I'm not qualified for, but hopefully they are.
Okay.
No, what?
And then the last thing I have are just a couple dates. We are ready for the 8-county meeting that we're hosting tomorrow here. Again, that starts at about noon. Caterer will set up in the community room next door, and we will have this space set up with tables to eat in. The commissioners will stay here and hold their meeting. Sean's been working on getting some handheld mics so that this space is a little bit bigger than most of the spaces that we're used to going at, and so he's going to make sure that there's mics available for those who are speaking to talk into. And then the caterer's also bringing back cookies and coffee for the afternoon. So I think it's all set to go, and then at the end of the day, when it's all finished up, we'll just set things up, clean up at the end of the day. So that's ready to go. And a reminder again, Brookings County has to chair the next year of that board. So any questions on that for tomorrow?
Do those guys know where the breakout sessions are going to go?
Vicki and Bev, there's our 2 conference rooms are available in our suite, and then there's the conference room down between.
So they'll take care of that.
They know. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. We need 3 extra spaces. I don't know that there's going to be much for highway because there's a short course going on out right now out at Oklahoma, so I don't think anyone's probably going to be here for that. So if they are, we'll find a space for them as well. And then Dick had mentioned at the meeting a couple of weeks ago that next Tuesday, the 29th, there is a meeting. It's going to be next door in the community room at 10 o'clock. SDD DOT staff will be here. I think he said Doug Kinneberg was going to be here to discuss 468th Avenue. So that's next Tuesday, the 29th at 10. Unless you have any questions, that's all I have.
Did Lori from DOT tell us that Noel Clarkson left? Do you remember?
I can't remember the name.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear the question.
I was asking the commissioners who were at the convention.
Oh.
There was kind of a big, for lack of a better word, shakeup in the DOT, and some people who have been there for a long time left. And I was thinking that Noel Clarkson was one of them, but I'm not positive. Nobody remembers. I can't either. Okay, that's all.
Abby, Deputy State's Attorney report.
I'm back.
How are you?
Welcome.
Just a quick update on our office. Since I'm back now, I think Terry and I will kind of tag team on some of the civil work, so I'll plan to attend the commission meetings, but she might continue to help with the research. I really appreciate everyone's patience with our office while I was on leave. I was really impressed with her. She is a workhorse and was an asset to our office. It made me feel very comfortable to be gone, that we had her there to assist, and I know Clyde feels the same way. So feel free to send any commission questions or civil questions to me now. I'm happy to assist on those again. You might have already heard this, but I just wanted to make you aware, if you hadn't, that the drug court for Brookings County did officially get approved through the legislature. Everybody probably already knows that. So we'll do our team training in April and then kind of start the ball rolling May and June and officially be in effect July 1. And I'll be the prosecutor on that team. So again, if you have any questions, feel free to send those our way. And you probably also heard big changes in our office. Mr. Calhoun's retiring this year. So, he's just continuing to do what he does, but hopefully we'll have a big event for him at the end of the year when he decides to be done. But he'll finish out the rest of his term. And in case you hadn't heard, I will be running for that position. So just to make you aware, that's pretty much all the updates from our office.
Great.
I have a couple of questions. At the training last week out in Pierre, the property and liability insurer spoke, and I didn't know this, and I wondered if your office was aware of this, that our policy gives us an hour of free legal advice with their counsel for each event that would come up. So if there was something where we had a question that's related to a workers' comp or unemployment insurance or whatever, they have people that are specializing in that and will give us, for example, Laura could call, or somebody from your office or whoever can call, and for each individual event, our policy includes an hour of free legal advice. So I
think Laura may have known that because I know she's utilized that in the past.
She has utilized a service when we've had employment type questions.
Yeah,
she
because
has utilized that service.
That was really a interesting thing. And then the other thing I was wondering, when the juvenile bill was passed, I think it was November of 2015, where we're supposed to start getting reimbursement for the kids going through the deferment program. Am I remembering that correct? And what's going on with that?
In my mind, I was thinking September of 16.
Is it September of 16?
I'd have to double check. That's what sticks out in my mind.
Okay.
We will, again, I've turned all the juvenile stuff over to Terry, but I will visit with her and make sure. I know we've been tracking everything, so we will have the statistics ready to go when the forms need to be filed. But that was the date I had in my mind. I will confirm that, and we certainly will want to apply and see if there will be any reimbursement back to the county.
Thank you. And I just may not have the date right, but we should look at that. Thank you.
Abby, a quick question. Drug court, I don't know what that all entails. I know it seems to be a good thing, but is there any way, our next meeting or something, you could kind of give us an overview of what that's going to do? What's the difference from how we're handling it right now? And what effect that might have on your staff, effect on the sheriff's, staff, also the jail? Is it going to minimize it? Is it a diversion type of thing? Just kind of an update for all of us so we have an idea of what that is going to entail.
would you have any interest in me bringing in some of the other team members that can provide the judge that will be on the team, the court service officer,
Absolutely.
the law enforcement officer, just to kind of get the full feel of it? Okay.
That'd be great. So, okay, good. All right, thank you. Good to have you back. 11, commissioner reports. Leanne, do you want to get started?
Sure. So I attended the spring workshop for the South Dakota Association of County Commissioners with the rest of you last week. It was just an excellent program, and I didn't hear Stacy talk about the active shooter thing in her report, and I'm thinking Stacy has dates for the active shooter program. Is that right,
May 25th and 26th.
And, you know, when we had, when we talked about this at Joint Powers, I had thought we talked about maybe having it next fall, but is that going to be a problem with May 24th being the cybersecurity workshop? Well, are we going to have any conflict with getting our employees to both things? That's what I'm asking.
I don't think so, because the cybersecurity thing is here, and the active shooter training would be here as well. So, and I don't know how many people will be attending the cybersecurity. I know we want as many as possible to attend the active shooter training.
Exactly.
So,
and the program, the preview of that we saw out in Pier was excellent. That's going to be a great program. But our dates are definite now that it's May 25th and 26th.
yeah,
And
that's his availability. So,
right. And did you talk about this in your report already?
no,
Did I miss it?
No.
Okay. And so it's going to cost us a couple of it's about $2,000. We're splitting that between the city and the county.
I think so. Is that what was? I know we kind of talked about that yesterday, and that's what I was thinking it was. It was about 2,000 plus his travel time and a hotel stay and some meals for his per diem. But
And then Ryan asked this question when we were coming back from Pier. He said, did we ever vote on that? Do we need some kind of vote to approve that, or what?
That's through Joint Powers.
So that's through Joint Powers?
Joint
So
Powers
then we
Board.
don't need anything here? Okay.
No.
Okay.
And that'll be 2 4-hour sessions.
He'll do one a 3-hour session that's going to be like a lecture, probably similar to what you guys did, but a bigger scale when you were out in Pier. For 100, he can have 100 people. And then what he does is he breaks that then into two groups of 50 and does about an hour each with each of those groups, more hands-on scenario type training. So it'll be 4 hours total. And then the next day he'll come back and do the exact same thing with another set of 100 people. So we hope to get 200 employees from, and we're combining with the city to go through this training. With him.
That's what I was asking, just to
Yeah.
make sure everybody has the opportunity, because it was very good.
And he stressed, and I think this is important, that it shouldn't just be your department heads, it should be your employees.
Yes.
Can I just ask, is law enforcement assisting with that at all or participating in that?
We'll be inviting everybody from
Yeah,
that's a
everyone will
county
be
employee.
invited to participate,
County
but
and city too. I think.
they're not directly helping him, no.
But the program is just excellent. It's just absolutely amazing. That was my take on the 2-hour part that we saw. So
I
it'd be-
supported that when Laura and Stacy approached me and stuff, and the police chief is on board with it too. So
So that should be great. And then the other thing, we did quite a bit of talking at the meeting about financial issues, and the auditor was there. And one of the things that Todd Fortin, did I say his name right? Rod Fortin was talking about is that each county should have a comprehensive policy and procedures manual on financial responsibilities that talks about our internal controls and segregation of duties and stuff. Do we have that?
They go through a process each time they come, and we say how we do things, and we give them what the duties are and how we are do the audit controls and everything. It's not in a manual, so maybe it would be a good idea to put in a manual, but we do have those, and they're reviewed every time they come. So Yeah,
And we're
it's
just
just
doing-
not in a manual, but we can put it in a manual.
Okay.
Yep.
In case you have a heart attack.
Yeah, no, that's good.
Excuse me, I just worried, that sharing that knowledge. And then that was the last thing from the meeting that I wanted to ask about, but I did attend the chamber mixer on March 17th. And yesterday, Stacy and I were at the hospital for the name of the program. It was the Support Breastfeeding, signed the certificate on behalf of the county, and did all of that. It was very nice, the meeting was. I'm
All right.
done.
Thank you. Larry?
I also attended the spring workshop. I thought the people that set up, the staff that set up all the classes and meetings we had out there did a very good job. Mike Holzhager, Mr. Zimmerman with the VA also commented at how good a job Mike was doing on his state board and stuff with the VA. So that's all I have.
All right. Stephanie?
And the conference is all I did for the last 2 weeks, I guess. It seems to get better every year. There was a while there that I just thought, well, it's kind of repetitious, but they're getting new programs, and this was an exceptionally well put together conference, and I think we all learned a lot being there, and that active shooter was fabulous. I am really excited. You were right. I'm really excited for him to be here.
All right.
Thank you all for attending the state conference. I went, as far as anything I participated in that the commissioners need to know is I went to the Pheasants Forever banquet. But the reason you would is while I was there, what you don't need to know that is that I got contacted because the culverts leading Lake Sinai were plugged, and there was a confusion on billing on 34th Avenue and some loose ends. So on Wednesday, I drove out and looked at the culvert, talked to Dick, and there's an inch or two water being slowed down by some growth. And they were thinking of taking the backhoe from the Sinai project, but they can't get down there to do her. I think if it comes up anymore, it'll wash itself out, but there's a trickle going through, and I understand that. But they're always concerned about erosion, that it comes up and erodes their soils and, the banks of where they're at. But so I went down and looked at that twice. And then in the billing, I visited with a couple people, and it's all taken care of. And on the 18th, had Growth Partnership. And this year they had a research day at the legislature. And this is the materials that the legislators received. You can look at this at your leisure. But I do want to point out the second one, the white one. Down on the bottom is the mention of our money. And Senator Tiedemann got another $100,000 for our park so we can get out from under our land situation with the university, and also to deal with the hoop barn that we owe them for. And and with some promises from the governor, we're going to be in really good shape to move forward. We've got a lot of good things now that we're straight with the regents on the sale of the land. But the Senator Tiedemann, I should finish, said that they caught that. They caught the commitment that people have, and that's why they freed up some money for the research park. So you can look at that at your leisure, and that's all I have.
I asked the chair to come back to me because I, too, had to deal with this Sinai issue. And what we're going to do, the Sinai people are going to clean back further. That's not in our right-of-way. But our right-of-way, we are going to go down there and just dig those cattails out so that that's done. It's not going to change. It's not going to flow out because the lake isn't high enough yet. But at least that way, we won't impede any flow should it start flowing. So we are going to go dig it out, and we'll move the the mess over to the side to let it dry and then haul it away later.
Yeah.
So,
It's about
and I
a
dealt
whole
with it.
inch that's being too.
Yeah,
but
it's-
they're very
it's-
sensitive to it, and I understand.
yes,
So
yeah. So we'll get ours out in the right way.
Okay, I had March 10th. I'm on another task force. This is the Brookings School District Comprehensive Facility Plan. So I'm serving on that. They are taking bids from a request for, not proposals, but for bids on the company that will put together their facilities needs over the next 5 to 10 years. They think the school district will continue to grow, and over the next 5 years should have over 3,000 students. And so they will look at their facilities plan over the next few years here to decide and get a plan to see where they need to invest, whether it's investing in the high school, new elementary, and that kind of stuff. It's important for us, I think, on this board that if that plan, as they work through and they identify an area, whether it's in the county or not, to expand their school, we'll have an idea of where they're going to be at, and so we can plan for if we have to put infrastructure in or any of that kind of stuff. So I'll just keep you up to date how things are going, but that'll be a longer-term planning process. I did that on the 10th. As soon as I was done with that one, I went to the Affordable Housing Task Force, and we are in the process of trying to still continuing to put together what is affordable housing. So we'll be working on that, and I think that's going to be a continual process. And then I had a BDC meeting on the 14th, and they are adding 2 staff. They have one for the entrepreneurships on there, and they just announced the new staff for their workforce development person that they're going. But the main gist of it was Vision Brookings 3, which they will be working on to try to fundraise for that and get that going. So that's going on for BEDC. I went to the county workshops there the 16th through the 17th. One of the things I thought was really was the booklets we got from Auditor General, all the information compiled that they used for all of the counties throughout. And it really was a great information for us, the number of bridges and how we ranked and the amount of roads that we keep together and all of that information. And it was really interesting and valuable to see how we compare. And so bringing those back, it's something we can rely on. They had a couple, that was for their summer study. And that was the information they provided for the summer study, but then they handed it out to us, which was really valuable information. So I'm glad we got that. And again, it was a very good conference. And then last night went to the Essential Behavioral Health Board meeting, had discussion there. We've got a couple board members there that are really concerned about finances of that and the future viability of essential behavioral health as they're moving forward. And there's some concern that that they're not making enough to keep the behavioral health viable and pay their bills. And so there's a real strong discussion there of how we're going to increase the funds. They're not coming back to us because obviously we invest in them pretty heavily, and they appreciate that. But the city has stopped their investment in it. There's other entities we're going to identify to try to look at investment, but they're also going to look at trying to build some relationships too with other entities, that referrals and that type of thing. So had a kind of a hard discussion there that one of the board members even said, you know what, is this going to last the year? And that's not a good thing if financially they're not going to last during the year, because they do provide a lot of services that we need for chemical dependency, mental health, and all that kind of stuff. And so they do provide quite a bit of emergency response and committals and different things. And if they're not functioning, somebody else has to, and we got to get it from somebody else. So, it's going to be a discussion that needs to have, and it's going to have to happen here very soon. So just kind of heads up on where they're at and stuff. So, but otherwise, that's what I did last couple weeks. So anything else? Okay. We have a scheduled 1 o'clock, so I'll declare us in recess until 1 o'clock for our work session on our strategic plan and work plan for Brookings County. Thank you.
Yeah.